Are you looking for an escape from manufactured truth wrapped in selfish agenda? Don't you just want to have a real and raw conversation, all masks and rules aside? That's what you're getting here at Titan Evolution Podcast. Get rid of all the nonsense information and discuss everything under the sun without filters. Listen to real stories of real people who will put your current perspectives to the test, guide you on living the life you truly want, and see everything free from judgment and pretenses. Time to get rid of those unhealthy environments and let your authentic self shine. Here are your hosts, Travis Johnson and Carol Carpenter.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I'm Carol Carpenter, and this is my sarcastic and wonderful guest. My co-host, excuse me, Travis Johnson. And we have a special guest here today, Michael Markiewicz. And hi, Michael.
Hi, Carol. Hi, Travis.
Michael is the founder of Markiewicz Enterprises, and he's based in New York, specializing in CPA services, consulting services as well, and asset protection with over 35 years of experience. Michael is a successful investor, speaker, and a philanthropist. Outside his professional life, he likes to play guitar, watch movies, go to the theater, and is a huge animal rights activist. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you for that intro. And by the way, the 35 years is now 40.
Well, then your bio needs an update.
Get your shit together, Michael. We can't record.
I only go according to what your bio says.
You know, I hesitated because it dates me, but I guess I should be proud of my age and how far along I have come.
Yes. I mean, we all sit there and are afraid to, divulge our age, but at the end of the day, that age, it equals wisdom, experiences, memory.
I like to think so, Carol. I do like to think so.
No, don't think. No, it is so.
All right. I'm gonna go with what you said. I'm gonna go with
I never understood the whole withholding the age thing as like being polite. I don't give a fucking who knows how old I am or why. Like, I don't understand how that makes people insecure being a certain age or not.
For guys, it's different. For women, we kind of just don't want to tell because I don't know, people see you differently as a woman when you give your age, and especially if you're older. And they just, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're too old to even know.
But then you look at certain celebrities, like Helen Mirren is a good example for me.
Oh.
Where Helen Mirren is so proud of how old she is because of all the trials and tribulations she's been through in her life, where she is today, and wears her wrinkles proudly. And she got to play the queen. So, yeah, I just think she's incredible. She's amazing. And I look at people like her, and I'm talking just about women celebrities, her, Barbara Streisand, who's 80, Cher, all of these celebrities that are wearing their age like a badge. And I think it's wonderful.
Well, look at all the smoke shows in their 50s, like Jennifer Aniston and Halle Berry and Elizabeth. Yes. Oh, who's Elizabeth? She's British. I can't think of her name right now.
Okay.
I can't think of her name right now, but then you've got J-Lo, you've got Shakira.
Right.
Like, all women in their 50s that look amazing. And how would you want to not, showcase your age? Elizabeth Hurley.
Oh, Elizabeth Hurley. Yeah.
Absolutely stunning in her 50s, just rocking life.
And Tina Turner. I mean, my God, she's incredible.
Yeah. I just think there's a double standard when it comes to women. And I think that's why women just tend to be like hands off about talking about their age. And it's wrong. Because the truth is we should wear it proudly, and I actually started telling my age because at first I felt more embarrassed by it. But as I now have come to realize I'm so much more comfortable in my own skin. Why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
But not only that, I would just say this, and not just about women and men both, is that in my opinion, and I can speak for myself, because I can't really speak for anybody else anyway. There is no age limit in terms of what you can do and what you can accomplish. And in terms of, for example, in my case, going into new ventures, being an entrepreneur, doing things I've never done before, there's no reason why I can't do it at any age, and that anybody can't do it at any age. So I say, it's a number. I feel great. People tell me I look great, but
you look fantastic.
But thank you. But people tell me that and they say, "Oh, you don't look your age." I said, "Well, that's okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. But if I did look my age, would it make a difference?"
Yeah, no, not really. As long as you're comfortable in your own skin.
I'm comfortable.
As long as you are authentically yourself.
Exactly, Carol. Thank you.
And this is what it is. It's all about authenticity. And I got to know, Michael, what is it about you that makes you a Titan?
What makes me a Titan? Well, the title or the term Titan is one that other people have said about me. It's not one that I'm very humble, so I don't necessarily say that about myself. But in terms of where I am in the world and what I do, I've been through many trials and tribulations in my life, like most people have. Okay, but each of our experiences are so different. And, I could start with, my origins and get to where I am now. But one of the things that I will tell you, a key thing for me is that I have never, ever let what my failures have been stop me from trying something different or new or trying it again. Mm-hmm. Because many people, and I don't want to say this about everybody, and I don't want to generalize, but many people, when they fail, give up and say, "Oh my God, look at what happened. I'm never going to do that again." But, I think that there was something very important I heard the other night on a webcast that I was on that had to, basically touched on the subject of having a vision. And if you have the vision, even if you fail, it doesn't mean you should lose the vision. You can continue the vision and try it a different way and keep trying it until you eventually will succeed. So my experience in life has been that I have had many failures. And the failures have taught me something each and every time. And that is what I attribute to my success. And as you said, Travis, the word Titan, does that make me a Titan? I guess it does. In my field of work and my life and everything that I've ever done, it makes me successful in what I do, is having learned from all the failures.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you weren't a Titan, we wouldn't have invited you on the show.
Well, then I will accept the title.
Yeah, I mean,
I think I now need to put that on my bio and put it on my media kit and everything else.
Here's the deal: anyone that's been a guest on our show has earned the right to put Titan in their bio, their media kit, and their LinkedIn. That's just how life works. I love that you talked about working through failures and working past failures. I think so many people are wrapped up in the personal, like what it means personally if you don't succeed at something. And if you look at a university, you look at research and science, you'll have teams of people that dedicate their entire life to the pursuit of one single answer. And they're saying, "Hey, how do we figure out this problem?" They're like, "I don't know. Why don't we try this?" And they run the experiment and they get the feedback and they see if it had anything to do with what they were trying to do. And they don't take it personally if they don't figure out on the first 500 tries. They keep going to figure out the problem because the thing that they're pursuing is far more greater than their personal attachment to whatever the thing was.
I totally agree with everything you're saying, because I believe what you're referring to, Travis, is when scientists perform experiments. Mm-hmm. They have an end goal as to what they would like to see at the end of it, but it takes so many trials before they get there. And most of those trials fail. So,
well, look at even people that have allergies, when you go see a doctor, they don't know which allergy medication your system will accept and work. So they just literally start you from the top. Okay, this is the top of the list. We'll start with this one. And you keep working down. It's just a constant, test to see which one of these prescriptions will actually work with your body, because each one of us is so different. Not one particular prescription is going to work for everybody.
True. It's process of elimination, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. So when you talk, when you do all these tests, like as you were referring to, Carol, with allergies, I don't know if either of you have ever had this done, but I've had allergy tests where they do what they call scratch tests.
Yeah.
They do that on your skin to determine, and they inject a certain, allergen into your skin to determine what is your body's reaction to that. And if there is a negative reaction, they say, oh, he's allergic to that, or she's allergic to that. But there are probably at any point in time 20 or 30 of those scratch tests that they do where they inject these allergens into you. And if there's no reaction, then you're not allergic to that. But like you say, it's a process of elimination because no two people, no two beings are the same.
As much as that's true, I love to say that we're all so much similar. When you get down to the microscopic and the microbe detail, you're right, we're not the same. But macroly, like, we want to do good in the world. We want to be reasonably safe and successful. If we've got kids, we want them to do better than we did. And there's so many things like, oh, by the way, it's voting day today, and people are deciding everyone's future based on, I don't know, whether they think they're going to do a good job or if they're going to hate the other person, or they think the other person sucks, or whatever the deal is, however people vote.
Oh, and it's another special day today. It is your birthday.
That's right.
It is. It is my birthday.
You're gritting your teeth. Why did you grit your teeth when
That's not gritting my teeth. This is gritting my teeth.
And by the way, I'm so honored to be on this podcast on your birthday, Travis. So
happy birthday.
That makes me feel very special that you would take time out from your special day to have me on here. So thank you.
Well, I'll tell you what, Michael, you're the only reason I got up today.
Oh, wait, hold on. I'm sitting right here.
Look, there's nothing I can say to make this better. Carol, you're special too. We love you.
And he's rolling his eyes. You notice that?
Oh my goodness.
I tell you, I was at the gym this morning, and like a few years ago, like, a birthday was a birthday. Now I have I almost feel like the social media obligation to reply to all the people that wish me a happy birthday online. Oof. And I see, I spend every year doing this. I spend like 2 or 3 days making sure I reply to everyone. And I'm like, this is almost more trouble than it's worth. I say that knowing that I'm still going to do it, that I still appreciate what people say. But I'm like, man, there is a lot of, if I was less of myself, if I put the mask on and I wasn't me, maybe there would be less people wishing me a happy birthday. I don't know. Do we think it's worth it? Do we think we should do less authenticity to have less people that care about me? I don't know how it works. I just know that I really care about all the people that care about me, and I want to let them know that I appreciate what they do, especially on something so special as a birthday.
Well, that's really special. So I want to just ask you a question, Travis, because I know you guys are mostly asking me the question, but I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay. All right, here it is.
So here's your birthday, and I just heard what you say about responding to each person individually.
Mm-hmm.
When they wish you a happy birthday on social media, whether that's on, a public social media or on a WhatsApp or whatever it may be. How do you feel about people who get wished happy birthdays on, say, Facebook or Instagram, and they do a blanket thank you to everybody versus a one-on-one thank you to each person who wished them a happy birthday?
I kind of feel like they've got to do what's right for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you got someone like Robert Downey Jr. that's got millions of followers and millions of people wish them a happy birthday, like, that just doesn't work. Like, you can have a team of 20 people responding, right? And
it would be an all-day thing with
like a whole month thing.
People.
Like, how many responses?
The reason that I'm a Titan is because I have those millions of followers.
Well, of course.
Joking a little bit, but no, just kidding.
I don't know. Everyone has the thing that makes them special. And I think one of the things that makes me special is that I'm personable.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Travis, I've known you for about a year and a half. Carol, I've known you for a little less than that. But I just want to speak to Travis at the moment, if I may. And no offense to you, Carol, but you and I met, never having met before, in a place in Mobile, Alabama, back in April of 2021. And I looked at you and you looked at me, and we realized, I think that both of us knew that we come from completely, totally different, backgrounds, if you will, not totally different worlds, but different backgrounds. And yet there was a connection that you and I had. And you and I have had a few conversations subsequent to that, both on Zoom and on phone or whatever it may be. And despite all of our differences, maybe in spite of all of our differences, you and I can come together and really care about one another and be friends with one another and love one another. Okay. And so that is special to me, which is why I wish you a very special happy birthday. Okay. Now, Carol, please don't take offense to this, because I feel the same way about you, even though I barely know you. I mean,
I'm not going to take offense to anything, Michael.
I don't barely know you. I know you a little bit better than barely, but I've known Travis a little bit longer. So when it's your turn, you're going to get the very same happy special birthday. When is your birthday?
When is it?
Yeah.
It's July 17th.
All right, mine comes before yours. Mine's in February, so
Okay.
February 17th. We have the same.
Oh, you're a 17th baby too.
I am. Yeah.
This is probably going to come out like next September, and no one will have any idea what day my birthday
It is not. Travis, shut your face. It is not.
We all have these special set of life circumstances that help design and shape and put a trajectory on our lives from wherever we start from. And Michael was born to Holocaust survivors and lived in New York City, and came out as a gay man in a time where that really wasn't as welcome as it is now. How did those experiences shape you, Michael?
Well, they shape a lot of who I am. Okay. But just to clarify, so yeah, my parents were both Holocaust survivors, and thank God they survived, because otherwise I wouldn't be here today. And much of my family, my parents' families did not survive. So I grew up, like, my father was the only survivor of his immediate family. He was from Warsaw, and he survived, but the rest of it, he had a brother and a sister, parents and cousins, aunts and uncles, all of whom did not make it. And it shaped him in a way that when I was a young child, I really didn't quite understand. But as I got older, I started to understand more and more. My father, both my parents, thankfully for my sister and I, were very, very talkative about their experiences. So we were raised with understanding more than perhaps a lot of other children of survivors were not, because a lot of people that had those experiences found it too painful to talk about them. My parents, even though they found it painful, felt that it was important to talk about it so that we would understand what transpired, what occurred, what experiences they had, so that we could also understand what the dangers are, for example, of things that may be happening in the world today could still happen to us, to you, to anybody. And so it shaped my psyche significantly. But one of the things that I will tell you about how it shaped me is that while my parents understandably did not have a level of trust for most people, and I didn't adopt that. I didn't adopt that lack of trust. I decided when I was in my kind of like maybe late teens, early 20s, that I felt I needed to trust people but what I call verifiable trust, so that I trust until I'm given a reason not to.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone does something or says something or acts in a particular way where they basically say to me, hey, I'm this, I'm that, I'm that, and I say, well, now I can't trust that person because of what they said or did, then I no longer trust them. But I didn't like the idea of going through life mistrusting everybody that I encounter, because that I think it's limiting to what my potential is.
Well, that comes also, Michael, from a scarcity mindset, right? In the end, when you don't trust people and you close yourself off to everybody else, you don't allow yourself to be open to receive. So in that mindset, you're so fearful that you're in the scarcity mindset, and you have to learn, and it's a learned behavior. You have to learn to extend trust wisely.
Right. So you actually hit upon something really relevant to this, Carol, when you said it comes from a scarcity mindset. Well, my parents, of course, they came from a scarcity mindset. I can understand why.
Mm-hmm.
My parents came to this country, they had like maybe $1 in their pockets. Okay.
Can I
And,
ask how old they were when they first came to this country?
well, yeah, you can, and I'm gonna figure it out. They came to this country. I think my father was 28, and
Oh,
my
young.
mom was 23.
Yeah.
My sister had been born in a refugee camp in Austria after the war, and they called them DP camps for displaced persons. So my parents
Mm.
were actually, quote unquote, stateless. That's how they were actually classified when they came to the United States on a boat. And it said country of origin, it said stateless. I have those records, so I can see.
Wow.
And my sister also was 8 months old when they came to this country, and she was stateless. And so when they came to this country, they had nothing. And my father immediately went to work in a factory, and actually they settled in Boston. Rather than, they came through New York Harbor, but they settled in Boston. And my father immediately went to work for a factory, and a meat factory in Boston, because he realized that he had to, support his family. My mother had, an 8-month-old daughter, and they had an 8-month-old daughter, and he needed to earn enough money to put a roof over their heads and provide enough for food and clothing and so on and so forth. So that's what he did. And I was born in Boston, a little more than a year later, and now they have 2 children to feed and 2 children to clothe. And so, they never got out of that scarcity mindset because of everything that had been taken away from them. My father's family in Warsaw, my grandfather had a business. He had 2 businesses. He had a taxi company and had a mechanic's garage. My mother's family, they had like a general store in the town that she grew up in, Poland, as well. And all of that was just taken away, and at a moment's notice, without any, no warning whatsoever. So I can understand the scarcity mindset. I was raised with the scarcity mindset. Okay. And I decided a long time ago that I didn't want to live my life that way from a scarcity mindset, even though I adopted it for a long period of time. When I ended up going to college, my parents really encouraged, they encouraged education. I mean, that just happened naturally for them. But it was like, what are you going to do when you graduate college? You're going to go to graduate school. You're going to go to graduate school. What are you going to do? You have to have that. Their advice to me was, you have to have a profession. The profession has to be able to support you financially so that you'll never have to worry about where you're going to earn your money. That's a scarcity mindset. It's not.
That was my parents too, though, Michael. I mean, it's the same thing. They come from a different country, and I think the quote unquote land of opportunity is difficult for them to understand. And so when it comes to their kids, they only want their kids to be in a profession that they don't have to worry, right? So for us in the Asian culture, they wanted doctors and lawyers. So I understand like what your parents, the way of thinking. And I also did grow up in that mindset. So I understand where you were.
I knew you had. So for us, I'm Jewish, so in our culture, it was like you said, doctors, lawyers, but also you could be a dentist or you could be an accountant. I
Okay.
didn't want any of the medical stuff because that kind of skeeved me out a little bit. But I was really good in math and I was really good with numbers. And so that's the direction that I took. And I also wanted to please my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Understand that one 100%.
Yeah, I wanted to like you, Carol. I wanted to please my parents. I wanted them to feel comfortable enough to know that they had done a good job raising me so that they don't need to worry about me going forward.
Right. Right.
So yeah, it's this goes back, I think, to your original question, Travis, is like, well, what I don't remember. I'm paraphrasing if I may, but what was it about your background upbringing that got you to where you are? Am I correct in that, or did I miss something?
It's really how does it shape you? And
Exactly. How does it shape you?
yeah, I grew up in trailer parks and foster homes. I understand scarcity mode. I understand living in survival mode. I was
Yeah.
in it the vast majority of my life. It wasn't until I was in my late 20s where I finally calmed down a little bit. I'd been in the Navy for almost 10 years at that point. I'm like, I'm not running from anything. Like, there's no one coming to get me. But it was, more than 10 years after I graduated high school before I finally had that feeling. And then I finally got to figure out, like, is this what home feels like? Because I didn't know. I think
Yeah.
by that point I had moved 45 times already. And
Wow.
when you don't have a quote unquote home, like, it's hard to feel safe. It's hard to feel like the world's not out to get you. It's hard to feel like you can actually be comfortable in your own skin and start building a life for yourself. What the big problem is that a lot of people in this country, myself included, before we're healed as people, we get married and or have kids, and while we're still broken, we're trying to parent and raise kids and figuring out a profession, all this stuff. And so now I'm talking about it with my daughter, who's grown and married, about all the stuff that I did to her. And I know I've had to talk with my dad about all the stuff he did to me. And I know he had to talk with his mom about all the stuff that she did to him. And all the stuff that I had a problem with growing up, I took care of that stuff. But there was a whole load of stuff that I missed that my daughter's like, you weren't here for your emotion, emotionally. And I was like, babe, I didn't have those available, even to me, let alone to give out to anybody else.
And now?
It's getting better. I realize there's two emotions, not just rage. There's also joy. I didn't know. I guess there's more than two. We'll figure it out as we go.
Well, you didn't have a reference point. I mean, you didn't have a safe and secure childhood. So not having that, how do you know where your home was always running. It was, you were scared. Home was not a place of safety for you. So not having a reference point, how are you supposed to know?
Yeah, it's damn near impossible. And I love the fact that we've got 3 people on camera right now that have all been subjected to scarcity mindset and or survival mode. And those listening, what you heard is we all took the choice to take responsibility for our own lives and do something other than what we were shown.
Yeah.
If you never listen to another episode, if you never get anything else from anything that we say, that is the nugget that you have to take away, is that you have the choice to say, I'm not okay with this anymore. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to make my own way. I'm responsible for the things that I do and how I react to this world, and I'm going to make it my own.
There goes a healing process with that too, though. If you don't heal, you're never going to be okay. I mean, you're just going to keep repeating and perpetuating a pattern.
Yeah. You get cut and then you start bleeding on people that had nothing to do with the reason you got cut.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, Travis, you said something earlier about me where, I came out as a gay man when it was not an easy time to do so. And that is true. But it goes beyond that for me because, I kind of grew up in the 60s and 70s and it was definitely not an easy time to come out. It's still, I think it's gotten a hell of a lot easier for a lot of people because, there's just been so much more happening in that world, in the gay world and the LGBT community and so on and so forth. But, even when I started to come out, I tiptoed. So first I told a friend, all right? And then I told my sister. And then I told an aunt and an uncle. And then I finally told my parents. So I told my parents, like when I was 40-ish something, all right? And I remember when I told my parents, and by the way, I had a really amazing therapist who helped me through this process. And he said something to me that was, I still remember to this day. And his name was Michael as well. And Michael said to me, well, Michael, if you don't tell your parents, who are you really hurting? You're hurting, or you're hurting you. I said, I'm hurting me if I don't tell them because I'm living a lie. I'm not being honest with them. And so
You're not being authentic.
Not being authentic, exactly. And so I did tell them, and I remember I did this actually in a letter. And I remember I went like this with the mailbox when I sent the letter. Well, do I send this? Do I not send it? I did all of that. Finally, I just threw it in there and I said, oh my God, shit, what have I just done? And 3 days later, I get a call from my parents, and they were both on the phone. And my dad was amazing. He was just so incredibly loving and supportive and just really genuinely happy for me.
And your mom was like, how am I supposed to have grandbabies?
My mom was a little tougher nut to crack, where she said, one of the things she said to me was, well, I hope you haven't told anybody else in the family. And I said, well, I have. And she said, well, who'd you tell?
Everyone else.
I said, I told my sister and I told your sister. And she said, well, why'd you tell them and not tell me? And I remember my response was, I told them because I felt like they could handle it and I didn't think they could. And she said, well, what makes you think I can handle it now? I said, it no longer matters whether you can handle it now. You're going to have to figure it out. I'll help you. I will help you, but that is my reality. And I want to be in your life and I love you and I want you to continue to love me and we can help each other and support one another. But this is today's reality for who I am as a person. And
you were the same person, Michael. The funny thing is you didn't change. No. It's just you revealed something about yourself. That is the truth, right? And in the end, she loved you anyway, or she still loves you. I'm hoping she's still alive.
My mom just passed this year at the age of 95.
I am sorry to bring that up, but
that's okay. I'm okay with it. She was 95. She lived a very long life. Of course, I'm very sad, but at the same time, I recognize, she had been declining, and when the last 3-4 years of her life were not very good. So in many ways, it's a blessing.
She led a full life. 95 is a full life, Michael. I honestly, I think it's funny that she couldn't accept it, considering she loved her son. And it was the only difference was you were just coming out to her. So it's interesting that she couldn't just accept it, but everybody does things from a different place. So you just don't know how they're going to react in the end.
Well, in response to that, I would say that she didn't totally reject it, but it took her some time to come around to completely embracing who I am. Yeah. And I'm married. I have a husband, and
I met him.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And my husband and I have been, we've been together for 24 years, married for 8 this month. We have an anniversary on the 26th, And my mother absolutely adored him and loved him, and they had a good, strong relationship. So my mom did, it took her a little longer, but she came around and she was pretty amazing. And my mother was one of the most, I would say, resilient people I've ever known in my entire life. After everything that she'd experienced in her life, she'd experienced so much, a lot of it not good, a lot of it good, that she continued on with so much love for 95 years. It's just incredible.
I think she was more scared for you, being, having come out, how people would accept it. I think it goes back to that scarcity mindset, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that she knows how hard it was for her and bringing you here, and then all the trials that she's gone through. So because of all those things that she's experienced, just the idea of you coming out was like, oh my God, this is going to be so much harder for Michael.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah, it was going to be harder for me. But also she comes from a place, where she grew up and how she grew up, where, I'm sure there were gay people, but nobody was out because, at that time, my mother, I didn't grow up Orthodox, but, there was the Orthodox Jewish community in Poland, and nobody talked about gay people because that was just unacceptable in the culture.
Yeah. Well, if you look at Roman times and Roman statues, the ultimate sex symbol was a young man.
Yeah.
You read through some of the old plays and the old stuff, like getting yourself a nice young man, no matter who you were, they were the ultimate sex symbol.
Well, the ancient Greeks and the Romans, they loved, they celebrated.
Exactly. Look at some of the movies. They literally were having freaking orgies. Come on now.
Exactly.
I'm not saying I'm taking notes, but what movies are those?
Caligula.
We'll do this offline.
I do want to have a happy birthday. I mean,
is it a happy birthday or a happy ending?
I'm fine with both. Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, so it's like a lot of what we talked about here. I think we started this out by asking me, how I became a Titan. I think that a lot of these life experiences that I have had have led me to that, because I wasn't going to let anything get in my way of accomplishing what I want to accomplish and being who I want to be. I'm not done. By no means am I done. I feel in many ways I'm just getting started. So,
right on.
There it is. That's the kind of.
In addition to my CPA practice, like I'm now a book author, I'm an executive producer on a film, I'm an investor, I'm a philanthropist, I'm an investor in a lot of live performances in theater. And so, my life is full and it keeps getting better all the time.
And you get a place in Spain.
Yes. We bought a place in Madrid.
Just saying.
What did you say, Carol?
I'm coming to visit.
Everybody, no, I shouldn't say everybody that's going to listen to this is coming to visit, but you guys, welcome.
Everyone named Carol and Travis are welcome.
Exactly. So, we bought this incredible place in Madrid almost a year ago. We closed on it last December. We're actually going there in December for a couple of weeks, and we always go this time of year, and we go there for the holiday period, and they have a very, very neat tradition in Spain where during New Year's, everybody is given grapes and you have to eat grapes. And I'm not quite sure where that comes from, but it's a kind of a cool, neat tradition when you're in Spain that everybody does that. And so we always do that. And we're going back again this year. And eventually, in the not too distant future, we plan on relocating to Spain, to Madrid. So, yeah, and our place in Madrid has 2 bedrooms, 2 baths. So yes, the second bedroom and bath is on the second floor, private. There's a laundry room up there. So the only requirement is you do all our laundry while you're visiting.
I love it. Yeah, we've actually, Ollie and I have talked about going to Barcelona and watching races there. And the one place I have not been that I really have wanted to go all these years is Barcelona, and we want to go see a MotoGP race. So if we're in town, we'll swing. Like I'll do Madrid, and we'll do Florence, and we'll do
Florence is Italy, my friend.
Yeah. Well, you can take a train everywhere.
Oh,
Well,
anywhere.
I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to want to take the train from Spain to Italy. It's a long trip.
Well, when I was in Florence with my son, his girlfriend was studying in Spain, and she took the train in, and we met her at the train station. And yeah, it was great. We spent the weekend in Florence.
Unless you like long train rides, which you may, and that's really cool. But it is a long train. The flights in Europe are so cheap.
They are cheap
within Europe, so you can take Ryanair or EasyJet or one of those. And flying in between countries in Europe is very, very inexpensive. So that's another option. But I would tell you, Barcelona is gorgeous. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love Barcelona. However, I love Madrid a little bit more.
Oh, okay.
A little bit more. Just for context.
Now I want to go.
Just for context, Madrid to Florence is a 26-hour train ride.
I was going to say.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Barcelona's closer, but Madrid to Florence is 26 hours.
I have no doubt. It's
little flight. Take a puddle jumper.
Well, you have to go, north to the northern border with France, and then from France all the way across France into Italy, and then down. And it's a long way.
Michael, these kids were literally college kids. They don't care.
I know.
Right? At the end of the day, if it's cheap and it gets them where they're going, they're taking it.
Plus the trains in Europe are amazing.
They're gorgeous.
They're gorgeous. They're fast.
Uh-huh.
They're fast. Yeah, they're great.
Oh, yeah.
They're fun. You can party on the train.
No. And I love the different sections. If you upgrade to the kind of the higher section, they come and they serve you. It's like first class. It's awesome.
They're very nice. I love it.
Yeah.
And the trains within Spain are really great. We have very good friends in Malaga, which is in the very far south of Spain on the Costa del Sol. And we always go to visit them. And a nonstop train from Madrid to Malaga is 2 hours and 20 minutes. If you were to drive it, it's 7.5 hours.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, that's quite a difference.
Yeah. So it's so worth taking the train. Their trains are great. Really incredible.
Yeah, I love traveling within Europe. I do miss, because when COVID came, literally there was nothing open for travel, and I really hated it because I miss traveling so much, right? And now I want to go back to Taiwan even just to go visit my cousins. My aunt passed away during COVID, and I couldn't get back. They wouldn't let me back because she was my aunt. And what they didn't understand, and I kept pleading with them, was I lost my mother at 20. So my aunt, basically said to me, "You're my daughter now." And so she was to me just like my mom. Mm-hmm. And how do you explain that to somebody when you're pleading with them that you want to go back for the funeral, right?
And they wouldn't give you any dispensation for that.
Yep. Couldn't do it. So I'm still waiting, because apparently there's still a mandatory quarantine. It's lessened from 2 weeks. I think now it's like 10 days. But even then, I can't go for very long. So if it's spent in quarantine and I can only spend 2 days with them, what's the point?
And it's a long way to go.
Exactly. It's a full day of travel each way.
Way too far to go for 2 days and 10 days in quarantine.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
How old were you, by the way, when you actually figured out that you were gay?
Oh, well, I always had inklings because of my attractions to men versus women, but, I fought it. I fought it for a long time, like throughout my 20s, I fought it. And I think when I think back and I kind of decided, I decided I was 32 when I decided to start coming out. I was
Okay.
32 and I came out to a very good friend of mine, this woman who I had worked with, and we became very close friends. And I was sitting in her house and I told her, and she said, "Well, God, for God's sake," she said, "I've been waiting for you to tell me that." And I said, "Really? You knew?" She said, "Of course I knew." And her name was Nancy. I remember her to this. Her name was Nancy Cotter. She was a very dear friend of mine. And I told her, and I got this great reception for having done that. And it gave me some hope, you know. And then I think the next people I told were my sister and my brother-in-law, my then brother-in-law. They're divorced now. And my sister was great. My brother-in-law, being the schmuck that he is, they're now divorced, so who cares?
Exactly. He's out anyway, so no
So,
big.
I mean, he actually was okay with it. He was fine with it, but I know that he really wasn't okay with it because he's
Of
that,
course.
you know. I hope that's not a bad word, but if it is, I don't care.
You can say whatever the hell you want to say on the Titan Evolution podcast.
Exactly. So, you know, and you know, it's interesting, you know, that when I did come out to my sister and brother-in-law, my sister said to me, "Well, I'm not going to tell the kids yet." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Because I don't think that they're ready for this." I said, "Ready for what? What do they think? I'm going to sexually attack them?" You know,
Oh my goodness.
first of all, her two older kids are girls. Okay. The youngest one is my nephew, who I have a really good, close relationship with.
Oh
And
my God.
so
It's irrelevant,
I said,
completely irrelevant.
so I said to her, I said to my sister, I said, "You know what? They're your kids. You decide what you want to do. I think you're wrong to approach it that way, but I'm not going to interfere. I'm just not going to interfere." And you know what happened was, like, with her kids, who are a generation below mine, obviously. You know, they grew up going to school, and you know, like my nephew, for example, lives in Brooklyn, and my nephew, he once told me recently, he said, you know, 90% of my friends are gay, even though he's straight. But
Yeah.
he said 90% of my friends are gay. Her two daughters, my two nieces, they have tons of gay friends, so it's not an issue. So
Right.
that I felt like my sister was trying to protect them from something that she didn't even have any knowledge about. You know,
Well, and it ended up being inevitable that we were literally getting to that place where now it's so widely accepted, nobody even cares if you
but
are or you aren't.
but the one thing I will tell you about that is that that was painful for me
Mm,
when she approached it that way.
yeah.
Yeah, but
There
at
was a
what age do you
shame
tell
behind
kids
it.
all the stuff of life? At what age do you tell
Yeah.
kids that there's murderers and rapists? At what age do you tell them about death? At what age do you tell them about all the things that are so vastly different than what's in their own bubble? It's really
Hmm.
hard to determine. You know, I grew up in a household
Mm.
where we went to Lutheran church, and shit, if you didn't do what the Lutherans did, you were going to hell, right? Every little thing there says you're
Why?
going to hell. And it's not until you actually read the Bible and you get into Acts and it says, "Let nothing I have made be unclean," and you can apply that with love and grace to every situation, that you're like, what the hell is everyone's panties in a twist over?
Mhm.
Right? Right? Like
Interpretation.
when you yeah, when
Travis,
you
it's their
yeah,
interpretation.
it's interpretation, it's culture. I grew up and being gay was wrong. That's what I was taught. And until I had my faculties about me and was able to explore this on my own, and you know what I mean? Like until I went through that process. But if you're told, and I don't know about your sister's house, your aunt's household, sister's, I have no idea, right? But if they say something, and then, oh, by the way, someone in our family violates something that we said, and I don't know if this is the case or not, like it's going to take a minute to get that implemented into the household and have those conversations. I loved my house with my kids because my daughter and all the friends would be at my house. So when things came up like school shootings, I had the chance to talk to the kids about it. Like, hey, well, what do we think about this? What do we know? What do we actually know about the situation? And if some households are just not interested in having tougher conversations, regardless of what the topic is.
Chances are they don't know how, Travis.
Yeah, they don't know how. I did the I did the Miss Oklahoma pageant last year. I was the MC with this voice, of course. Right this year I was a judge, and I went through and I was like trying to research like what do I ask the girls? What do I ask people about all this stuff? And I came up with some really, really tough political questions. And I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to use them. I talked to the organizers, like, I came up with some really hard political questions. What do you think? He's like, ask them. It's only going to get harder from here. So I asked them, I'm like, what do you think about Roe v. Wade being overturned? What do you think about this? And I went through the stuff, and one of the judges, after like they walked off, they're like, man, I have no idea how I would have answered that. But it's because we don't broach those subjects. It's because we don't talk about those things often that makes it harder to do. And when you can have a real conversation about those topics, it makes everything easier. But if you've never been challenged, if you've never really thought through and understood why it is that you feel that way, and are those feelings valid, right? They might not have been. It might have just been something you heard on the news and you onboarded it into your system, and that's the way you're going until you get challenged. Until you have those conversations, you don't know. And a lot of people aren't equipped because they've never broached the hard topics and the hard things.
Well, Travis, you said something just a slight bit earlier, where you said, you grew up in a Lutheran household. Okay. Mm-hmm. So my freshman year in college, I went to Tufts University just outside of Boston. Right. And I had a roommate who was from Rhode Island, and not that that's relevant, but I don't know why I said that. I said it anyway. And he came.
It's okay. We like people from Rhode Island too. It's all right.
Yeah. So he came from a Lutheran family, and I remember his parents came to visit on like Parents' Weekend, and he introduced me to them. I met them, and he took. They asked him like, "Well, what's Michael's background?" And he told them, "Well, Michael's Jewish, and this had nothing. I wasn't out, so this had nothing to do with me being gay. It had to do with me being Jewish." And he told me subsequently that his parents told him that I was damned to hell because I'm Jewish. And
oh my God.
And I said,
again, it's all hellfire and brimstone, or you're following the rules for the Lutherans.
So his name was Phil. I remember him. I can see him. I can see his face right now. And I said, "So Phil, what do you think?" He said, "I think it's a bunch of bullshit." And I said, "Well, thank you, Phil. I really appreciate it." And I said, have you ever thought about educating your parents a little bit about what's going on in the world, that we're not all Lutheran, or we're not all Christian, that we're not all anything. We're all different, and we have different belief systems, and that we're all human beings." And he said, "You can't talk to my parents like that." He didn't mean me. He meant the proverbial you. You can't talk to my parents that way. And I said, "Well, they're your parents. They're not mine."
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Yeah. It's one of those things, there's we in the circles that we run, we talk about this stuff all the time. When you get to a certain level of saturation on a topic, a lot of people just are closed off to learning anything new. I love having political conversations with open-minded people that just won't get mad right away, because I'm assuming if we have a different point of view, that something or have been through something that I haven't been through, and I want to know what I'm missing. Right. I want to know, I want to understand people, like as a part of my core operating system, as I want to understand people, like how is it that that's the way it is for you? Like, why, like, how do you feel that way? And you get some blowback from some people like, "Oh, you don't know. I'm not going to tell you." I was like, well, that's not going to make anything.
Then you really don't know.
It's not going to make me better. It's not going to make society better. Right. Like, how is it that you came to that conclusion? I am so interested in being as wrong as much as possible, saying things that are edgy to see what kind of reaction I get, to figure out, ooh, this is a new scenario. This is interesting, to find what is it that I don't know about people, and how can we really connect and grow? And we can't do that with just surface level, boring, masks on, follow the doctrine conversations.
Well, I tell you, if the rest of the world were like Carol and Travis, and maybe me, the world would be a much better place, because we're open to that. We're open to hearing other perspectives and other points of view, because, none of us has the lock on what's right. because there is no one thing that's right. There is no one belief system that's right. There's no one political party that's right about everything. So, if people would, and I say people out there in the world, general people would be as open and receptive as my good friends Travis Johnson and Carol Carpenter, then I think the world would be a far better place than it is today, because we have a long way to go.
Oh, we do. And I think if we can just use one word to get people to be more open, it would be, instead of being angry because you disagree with what somebody said, be curious. Always lean toward curiosity first. And if we did that, just that simple word, be curious as to why that person has that viewpoint, why they said what they said, that for whatever reason struck you wrong. If you're curious and you're open, then it allows you to learn in that process as well.
You're absolutely right, Carol. But in addition to that, in addition to what you said, I'd just like to add, if I may.
Yes, of course.
In addition to being curious, I think it's important also for each and every one of us to explain to the rest of the world why we believe what we believe, how it impacts us personally. Okay, I think that's really, really important, because sometimes the people that we're trying to convince or at least educate and say, well, have you considered or thought about XYZ or this thing or that person being gay, or like you said, Roe v. Wade, or whatever it may be, if they understood why each and every one of us has an opinion about it and why we have that opinion, and I think the world would be a far saner, safer, more wonderful place.
Fully agree. Fully agree. Hey, Michael, tell us something about you that most people just don't know.
Well, okay. I in addition to my career as a CPA and all the entrepreneurial things I do, I'm also a musician. I play the guitar, I sing. I'm also an artist. So I paint and I do drawings, and I just have a passionate love for the arts. And one of the things I will tell you about my art when I paint or draw is that it takes me into a whole different world. So I haven't done
Canada. Like, how different are we talking?
Jesus.
No, it takes me into my own headspace. Okay. And for example, and I will tell you that I haven't done painting and drawing for a while, and I need to get back to it. And I'm thinking that when I move to Spain, I'm going to have the time, space, and everything to do that a little bit more than I do now. But
there goes the spare room. Be the art room.
It's now an art studio.
Like visiting Michael in Spain.
The place we bought in Spain has 3 levels. So there's the ground level, which is like the main living area, including the master bedroom and bathroom. Upstairs is second bedroom and bathroom and laundry room. And then we have a basement that is our own. And plus we have an outdoor patio space.
Lovely.
So, I'm looking at the outdoor patio space as a place where I can paint. And what happens is when I do that, when I get into that space in my head, I'm so focused on what I'm going to put on that canvas or that piece of paper that the rest of the world just goes away. And it's actually in so many ways a wonderful place to be, because I'm so invested in what that is going to look like. And it gets refined as I go through the process. But I remember having done that in the past, where I would start working on a painting and I literally could go for an entire day from the time I woke up after having had breakfast and cleaned up and I start painting, and next thing I know it's 10 o'clock at night and I haven't even eaten. And
it's your Zen place.
It's a Zen place. It's an absolutely amazing experience to to have where I guess the rest of the world just disappears.
Melts away. You know, that's how I look at riding motorcycles. It is my
Yeah,
zen.
really?
Yes.
I want to know more about that. And the reason not just because I want to know more about you, Carol, but also I'm very fascinated about that. And let me, before you tell me, I just want to share two things. One is that at one point I had a motorcycle.
Yay.
Yes.
What
But
kind?
it was a Kawasaki. And
Okay.
it was a long time ago, and I don't have one now. And because I live in New York and it's crazy to ride a motorcycle in New York.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But the other thing is when I moved to Spain, I don't want to get a motorcycle, but I want to get a Vespa. And I haven't ridden
Europe, everybody's got a freaking Vespa.
I want to have a Vespa. That's all. I don't want to have a car, but I want to have a Vespa. Right. Okay.
Hey, Vespas are sexy. Are you kidding? That's what they ride all over Europe. I mean, I totally get one and go get one in Spain. It'd be fun.
I'm going to get one. That's one thing I'm going to do there.
Yeah.
I want to get a bright red one.
Love it. Red is my color. Oh, and look at Travis's shirt. Wearing red.
I want the same color as Travis's shirt.
That's right. That's called a Ducati red.
Yeah, Ducati red. Ducati. Do you have a Ducati, Carol?
I do.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I have like 7 motorcycles.
Oh my God. Wow.
I don't have enough asses for all the motorcycles that I have.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's a Zen place, and there's something about being in touch with something else, and it's an inanimate object, of course, right? But you are completely at one with it. And that's the same thing as with you and a paintbrush. Your imagination, your creativity goes into that. And because of that, the time and space and everything just floats away. For us on a motorcycle, the concentration and the focus is so intense that everything else melts away because you're just enjoying the scenery. It's visceral and you're at one with the bike.
Totally. Wow. That's incredible. So there's a series I've been watching on HBO, and I have to remember the name of it, but I was watching it last night. Let me look it up. Can you give me a sec here? So it's called The White Lotus. I don't know if either of you have ever seen it.
No.
So it's in the second season now, and it takes place in Sicily. Okay. And this very odd couple, husband and wife, they're in Sicily, and they get on this Vespa and they start riding around, and you look at it and you look at the roads that they're riding around this Vespa on in Sicily, and it's winding and it's kind of crazy. And my husband was looking at it and he said, "Oh my God, that scares the living daylights out of me." And I said, "Oh my God, I drove a car on the Amalfi Coast in Italy that was just like that. And that was scary, but I did it anyway because it was just so great. It was so amazing.
It's exhilarating.
It was so exhilarating. But I don't know if I want to do that on a Vespa, but I definitely want to have a Vespa. So anyway, if you have a chance to watch The White Lotus in Sicily, season 2, I'm not promoting it because I know most of it.
You said you were an executive producer. Do you get paid? I mean, we're legally obligated by the FTC to divulge things that
I know.
pay you money.
I only wish. However, I have no connection to that whatsoever. But I do have a connection to a film that's coming out.
You and I both do.
Carol and I both do. Yeah. It's called, what's it called? The Strange. That's the it's a working title. I don't know if
The Stranger. That's what I dealt with in Vegas.
What were you doing in Vegas, Travis?
I got the opportunity to do a couple of things. I got to speak at the Military Influencer Conference about podcasting, as you might imagine. And then I got to go to the SEMA car show, which is the biggest car show in the world, which is a lot of fun.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Great time. Absolutely great time. Hey, as we're getting ready to wrap up here, Michael, what's a piece of advice you would share with people that are having just a hard time and they're going through something right now? And then where's the one place that we can find you?
Let me do the last part's easier. The last part's easier. So, do you want me to put it in the chat, or do you want me to just say it? Okay.
Well, we'll do both, right?
Yeah.
Say
So-
it, and then you'll just have to click the link. Anyone listening?
So my media kit is www.michaelmarkiewiczmedia.com. And then I have a website. It's www.michaelmarkiewicz.net. My cell phone number, I would ask that if anybody wants to reach me, please text me first and tell me where you found me, because I don't answer calls from people I don't know, is 917-838-7070, which I think is an amazing phone number, which I will never give up even when I move to Spain. And what's the one piece of advice? One piece of advice I would say is live your dream. I shouldn't say live your dream, but don't give up on your dreams. Pursue them. Do what you love and look for support for the people around you. One of the most valuable lessons I ever learned was literally working in corporate America, where my boss said to everybody around him, because he kept repeating it, was ad nauseum, but it was actually a very valuable lesson, was, this was him saying, he said, I surround myself with people who know more than I do.
Mm.
And the reason that is so important to remember is because none of us know everything. And we can all learn from everyone around us. I've learned so much from both of you just in this podcast. And I've learned so much from everyone that I've ever encountered in my life. Never stop learning. Never stop learning, whether you do it through reading books or online, but most importantly is the human connections. When you make those great, incredible human connections, you're always going to learn something. I always do. And I just know how much. One of the things I also know is I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. And I would say that I know maybe 5% of what I should know, but 95% is the rest out there that I don't know yet. And even if I start learning all that other 95%, there's going to be another 95% that I don't know. So be humble and know what you don't know and keep learning.
Oh, we love him, Michael. Thank you so much for being our guest today. You can check out more at michaelmarkiewiczmedia.com. We'll have those links for you in the show notes. Thank you so much from myself and Carol. Enjoy the hell out of Spain.
Well, thank you both for having me here. I really, really appreciate it. This has been enjoyable for me, and I just love you both and loved having this conversation. So thank you.
That's all for this episode of Titan Evolution Podcast. We hope this no-holds-barred conversation opened your eyes on what it takes to live a genuinely happy life according to your own terms. Now that you've treated yourself to such a refreshing discussion, you cannot listen to nonsense content anymore. Be sure not to miss an episode by subscribing to the show at TitanEvolutionPodcast.com. Don't forget to share the word so more people can be enlightened, informed, and entertained. Thank you for listening.